I'm gonna take that as a yes.
You want a final? Oh, I got your final. I got your final right here. No, seriously, I do. This is Fantasy versus oh god. Creepy Bunky in the audience. Ah! Creepy Bunky attack. That's going to haunt my dreams for all eternity. But this is Fantasy versus JangBi and the 2011 Gen Air OSL Grand Finals. Finals. Held at the War Memorial in Seoul, South Korea. A bit in poor taste, if you ask me, since we're playing a video game based on war. But hopefully they had a moment of silence before breaking out the K-pop and the StarCraft. Let's see. Where do I begin? I have like this ream of paper here listing interesting facts about this OSL final, because this is one of the most interesting finals that I've ever seen. There's just so much going on, so much drama, so much background behind this final. This makes it incredibly interesting. Where do I begin? Well, I guess I can begin by laying out the stakes, like if each player wins. If Fantasy wins, he will have gotten his second OSL Gold, which would put him in the running for the Golden Mouse next season, which is awarded to any player who gets 3 OSL Golds. A very small handful of people have ever achieved that honor. So that's what happens if Fantasy wins. If JangBi wins, he will be the first Protoss player since 2008 to win an OSL. And that was Stork in the Incorrect OSL. And he will have also beaten the player who beat his teammate last season. Oh, the drama. I love the drama. I think that's why I like the Brood War scene so much. But here we go. This is Pathfinder, our double map for the day. Except up at the 12 o'clock position in Beige is Fantasy, your returning OSL champ. That means down at the 8 o'clock position in red is JangBi, your highly unlikely OSL finalist. Yeah, both these guys have had such contrasting roads to this final. It's kind of ridiculous. I mentioned JangBi's road. I kind of laid that out in the semifinal between JangBi and Sue. But I think it's worth repeating because it's just so crazy. JangBi started at the prelims. He started in the preliminaries of the OSL. He lost in the finals of his prelim group to Sue. And then he went into the wild card and won against players like Zero and Lita, just a ton of great players, and moved out into the round of 24. He made it past the round of 24. He was the only Protoss player to make it past the round of 24. Second Protoss player, only one of 2 Protoss players in the round of 16. And then he lost 2 of his round of 16 games and was forced into a tiebreaker. Won the tiebreaker, got stuck with Flash in the round of 8, somehow won that. And then he gets stuck in the semifinals with the player who eliminated him in the prelims. And then he beat him 3-0 in his worst matchup. This has been one of the biggest Cinderella stories I've ever seen in StarCraft. So if JangBi wins this OSL, I think it would be one of the biggest accomplishments in StarCraft, period. Of course, that's, oh god, what did he just eat there? What is that? I hope that wasn't meat. But anyway, JangBi, wow, 12 next from JangBi, what? Ooh, risky play right out of the gate for JangBi, as Fantasy was not playing risky at all. He's walling off inside of his main, expecting some aggression, I think, from JangBi. So JangBi going for a 12 Nexus is very risky, especially on a 3-player map. Yeah, the gateway just now coming up, so this was a 12 Nexus from JangBi. But let's talk a little bit more about the roads that the players have taken, because I just listed all the hoops and hurdles that JangBi had to jump over and through to get to this spot. Now let's look at Fantasy. Fantasy started at the round of 16, since he was a champion last season, breezed through his group, got to the round of 8, met his teammate, who he's beaten before in the round of 8, breezed through that, got to the semifinal with Hydra, lost 1 game, but basically breezed through that as well. So Fantasy's road has just been kind of like sitting in a hammock compared to JangBi. In fact, the only time that the only loss that Fantasy has taken in this OSL was against Hydra in that semifinal. Just one loss. That's it. That's it. So he's had kind of a leisurely road to this final, but he is the returning champ. You get a lot of advantages when you win an OSL, going into the next season anyway, but Fantasy is going to scout the last position. So he's not going to find this 12 Nexus soon enough to do any kind of a bunker rush or any kind of rush strategy against it. So I think this 12 Nexus is going to end up working out well for JangBi, jump-starting his economy like this, especially considering Fantasy isn't going for his normal quick expand type of build. He's just now putting up his command center to float over to his natural expansion. So yeah, I think that this 12 Nex is going to work out as long as JangBi can fight off any initial harassment from Fantasy. Fantasy well known for his intricately timed build. Fantasy was trying to get inside that main to scout, but yeah, JangBi keeping him away from the main, so Fantasy is probably going to suspect early robotics facilities, since that's pretty much what every Protoss player goes for on this map. Early drops are so effective versus Terran that pretty much every Protoss player goes for them, but JangBi has not. He has not gone for that. He put down 2 gateways. He's just going to pump a lot of Dragoons to pressure the front, I think. Yeah, but Fantasy is probably going to expect Dark Templar drop or Reaver drops. And the drops work out so well on this map just because the mains are so close together. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good assumption from Fantasy, even though that's not what JangBi is going for. So JangBi is trying to trick Fantasy right out of the gate. And they've both come with some prepared strategies, I'm sure, today. Fantasy especially is just insane. Oh, Stargate? What? So JangBi putting down Stargate. It's either going to be early Arbiters or early Carriers. Either way, JangBi is completely insane. The Observer's kind of looking at the Cybernetics core, wondering, oh man, I'm not sure how long that Cybernetics core has been spinning, but it could be upgrading the +1 attack for Carriers. Could be. I'm not sure if the Dragoons have the range yet, because I haven't really seen them attack with range yet. So it could have just been for range. But it's been spinning an awful long time, I think. There's an engineering bay coming up for Fantasy on the other side. And Fantasy does not have any scouting information at all right now. He was not able to get inside that main. So JangBi denying the scout as he did is probably going to make Fantasy pretty paranoid. JangBi just put down a pylon at a prospective 3rd base for Fantasy, since Fantasy just has up his natural expansion, but he has plenty of troops to protect that for the time being. And there's a Dragoon trying to keep away another scout. The Dragoons keep away the scout. Fleet Beacon for JangBi. This is 2 base carriers from him. Wow. So what? Corsair coming out now for JangBi. What the hell? I think he's just going to use this Corsair for scouting, because I can't imagine any other purpose of a Corsair versus Terran except for Disruption Web maybe later in the game. But no, I think this is going to be for scouting purposes, because JangBi doesn't really have any scouting information either, because he denied Fantasy scouting information, but he hasn't been able to really move out himself to get a bunch of additional scouting information. But yeah, he's going to sneak inside the main with the scouting Corsair. Corsair flying out. Yeah, he's just playing this like he would versus Zerg, just scouting around with the first Corsair. But by revealing this Corsair, he's going to let Fantasy know that he does have a Stargate. Fantasy's going to know that that Stargate is up pretty early. Oh, JangBi almost a mind drag into those Dragoons. Since he doesn't have his Observers out yet, he's got to be a little bit more careful, I think. There's some JangBi fans in the audience. Clapping the Thunder sticks, ironically. Thunder and Lightning sticks. Storm sticks. There's JangBi trying to do a little bit of mind dragging with that Zealot out front, getting the Zealot out there so he can take out the Vultures without fearing the mines coming his way. So yeah, he does take out the Vultures. It looks like he has a pylon wall to the right side of that 6 o'clock position, so he's probably positioning that position for himself to take that as his 3rd base. But for now, he's just working off of 2 and getting up carriers at the same time. JangBi is completely insane. Usually, I would expect this kind of insane opening from Fantasy. Fantasy's the one who plans out the final series, who plays like a madman. But JangBi is playing like a madman today too, bringing the madness, which Stork did not do last season. Stork played standard and got crushed. It looks like JangBi is going to take the complete opposite approach. play like a madman himself. You got to be a madman to take down a madman like Fantasy, that's for sure. Looking back at the other finals, yeah, Jaedong had to play like a madman to take down Fantasy as well, and their final. So, all right, let's see what JangBi can get done with the carriers. Fantasy's got to expect something. He has to. He saw the Corsair. He knows there was an early Stargate. So he's probably going to assume carriers. That would be the best assumption for him, to put down a bunch of additional factories, start pumping Goliath. That would be the safest way to go. Because if it is an Arbiter build, yeah, he'll be able to take down the early Arbiters anyway with the Goliaths. But no, if he didn't know before, he knows now, because JangBi just revealed his carrier still has that Corsair flying around, getting absolutely nothing done. But it's getting a little bit of scouting, I guess, trying to figure out where the Goliaths might be. But no Goliaths out yet for Fantasy. He's trying to work on his ground troops first to protect his front before he starts pumping Goliaths. But he definitely needs to start pumping them soon, because he has no anti-air. A robotics facility coming up on the other side at the natural expansion for JangBi. But this is the only anti-air that Fantasy has right now. He's got to desperately protect those turrets, because those turrets are the only thing that's protecting him. Oh man, he's got to build a lot more turrets as well to take down these interceptors. Excuse me. The third base is up now and mining for JangBi. He's continuously moving his carriers, because the Protoss players know you got to keep those carriers in constant motion to keep the interceptors under them, keep the interceptors from going back into the carrier. You can probably see the little interceptors shadows moving around under the carriers. Got to be able to attack with all of them at the same time, but so far JangBi hasn't gotten much done with these carriers. He's trying to get up critical mass. There's a scan from Fantasy down at the 6 o'clock position, looking for a place he can harass with these vultures, but JangBi playing very smart. He built a pylon wall to the right side, and he was protecting the left side with Dragoons. So he has Dragoons at the left side, so he is completely prepared for all of Fantasy's tricks. All of the way that Fantasy wins his games is with harassment, and JangBi knows this. He's trying to keep away the harassment and play like a madman. And now, yeah, Fantasy is moving down with some troops. He's probably going to try to put on a contain at the natural expansion, behind the natural expansion. If he gets close enough to the Stargates as well, this could be very bad for JangBi, but it looks like there just aren't enough Goliaths to protect the troops right now. There are some Goliaths, and they finally do have the Charon boost upgrade, but I'm not sure if this is going to be enough for Fantasy. He just has 4 Goliaths, has a bunch of Goliaths coming in as reinforcements, but still I don't think it's going to be quite enough, because yeah, JangBi hasn't even revealed his ground army yet. He hasn't done anything with that ground army. He's just kind of amassing it at his natural expansion. So if he wanted to, he could definitely clean this up with the help of the ground army, but it looks like he's content to just use his carriers for now for the defense, since, yeah, he's not running into a lot of Goliaths right now. Fantasy probably going to start pumping a lot of Goliaths soon, probably just working on his factories now, because he desperately needs about 7 or 8 factories to fight back this a big amassing of carriers. Yeah, I get it, it's a baby. But yeah, he has 7 factories that I see right now. And probably has a couple more planned. Probably going to start building a couple more to get out the Goliaths he needs. But he's positioning himself behind the natural expansion. And here comes JangBi picking off the tanks to the best of his ability. But Fantasy was not close enough to that natural to even cause any damage. I think he's trying to get in there and take out some probes if he can. And he's building turrets all over the place. He's brought a lot of SCVs in as JangBi is finally moving out with his ground army. Yeah, he's moving out mine clearing with his main army, possibly trying to clear a path to the natural expansion for a counterattack. But either way, this is going to get incredibly tense, since Fantasy is not letting up the pressure with his with his contain, and now JangBi is going for the counterattack with all Dragoons. Looks like he has nothing but Dragoons going for a counterattack at the natural expansion, and Fantasy's been forced to spend so much on Goliaths. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do this. He's going to have to bring a couple of tanks home or pump a couple of tanks to hold the high ground area over here, because, yeah, the Dragoons are just going to eat up those Goliaths at the natural expansion. expansion. There are a few Goliaths down there for Fantasy keeping on the contain, but he desperately needs a tank. He does have one tank at the high ground. He does siege and protect that with his life, because if he does not protect this tank, he's going to die. Oh man, the turret's trying to rip into those interceptors. Fantasy, he's separated. His troop is separated now. Part of his reinforcement line is just stuck inside the main now. JangBi trying to take out that natural expansion. Fantasy repairing it with all of the SCVs he can muster. Oh, still a tank on the high ground. JangBi, I think he's going to try to go for that. Either the command center survives, at least for now, chasing away the Dragoons. If JangBi had had any Zealots in that attack, I think he would have been able to do it. But he decided to attack with just Dragoons. So, yeah, I don't think he could afford Zealots. Oh, now he can, apparently. Complete control group of Zealots moving up the map. But yeah, I think he was spending most of his minerals on interceptors, just trying to boost his interceptor count. Now he has a lot of those, cleaning up this contain that Fantasy had going. The fourth base from Fantasy, completely destroyed by JangBi, and he's still hanging outside of the natural expansion. He has his Zealots, probably waiting on the Zealots leg upgrade. Yeah, he has his Citadel ready to go, building his Templar archives. He has the speed for his Zealots, moving in with those Zealots. He's got to get close to the tanks, though. The tanks are the #1 priority of this attack. If he can take out the tanks. Oh, he's moving in with his carriers as well. The carriers going to the natural expansion. So this is an all-out attack from JangBi, and it's looking very, very bad for Fantasy. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to his tanks very long. Nope. Tanks going down one by one. All of the Goliaths are down. And yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be it for Fantasy. GG from Fantasy and JangBi. JangBi takes game 1, already putting up a much better fight than Stork, his teammate last season. Sorry, Stork. Okay, excellent strategy from JangBi to open this thing up with. Let's see what these guys have planned for the second set. Let's move on.